it's so good to be with you to speak this morning. We're going to continue our summer series. We've been taking a bit of time to look slightly shorter messages on Matthew 13 in particular, and looking at some of the parables that Jesus told. And one of the things I've loved seeing as I've been enjoying those parables is watching how Jesus tells story after story after story after story after story to try and explain this strange out of this world concept of the kingdom of heaven. This kingdom of heaven that we're told we can be part of, that we're invited to be a part of. It's so kind of beyond our understanding and out of our experience that it's as if Jesus has to tell so many different stories and give so many different analogies to try and help us grasp just a glimpse of how awesome it is. So this morning, our passage is no different, and we have two more parables that try to give us a flavour of what the kingdom of heaven is like. And that is one of a field and one of a merchant in search of pearls. So I'm going to be reading from Matthew 13, verses 44 onwards. Do feel free to follow on, and if you want, there are Bibles on the sides for you to help yourselves to. Matthew 13, verse 44. The kingdom of heaven is like a treasure hidden in a field, which a man found and covered up. Then in his joy, he goes and sells all he has and buys that field. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like a merchant in search of fine pearls, who, on finding one pearl of great value, went and sold all he had and bought it. Now, I wonder if we have any collectors here this morning. I think I actually discovered that we definitely do have a collector here this morning, as I realised over coffee this morning. I live with a couple of collectors. My husband has a past collecting coins. So he showed me his glorious collection. I know, you wouldn't, if you know him, you might not know that. There are many things you discover when you marry someone and they bring all their stuff. And you're like, what is this? But no, loves collecting coins, the old variety, but also the coins, and we'll sort of tell you what to look for, and loves a good collection. My daughter, 1 year old, also a collector, different kind of treasure for her. She loves collecting stones. We'll spend a good many hours collecting and gathering many, many stones, bring them to you with great aplomb, and kind of ask you to marvel over her latest findings. In fact, we were trying to clear out the cupboard under the stairs the other day. We're like, what on earth is this? And there was this big bag of stones that she collected at the beach, and you kind of think, why are we keeping these things? But they are her treasure, so there you go. Well, we come across in our second parable of our passage a collector, pearl merchant, someone who really knows his stuff, knows what he's looking for. This is his livelihood. This is what he is about. He knows what a good pearl looks like, and he's always on the lookout for those pearls, those really good ones. They're going to buy them, sell them, make a living. That's what he is on the lookout for. But we come across in our passage that he finds not just another pearl, another part of the day job, but he finds a pearl that is worth selling everything for. One that is the ultimate pearl, one that is the stop trading pearl. He goes out and sells everything he has to get this one fabulous, glorious pearl. It's beyond anything he's ever seen before. This is not just another pearl. This is the one that's worth everything. Something of ultimate value. And we see the same in the passage about the man who finds treasure in the field. Something that is worth selling everything for. Not just another thing, but an ultimate thing. And in this, we just get a glimpse of the fact that Jesus is trying to provoke us that the kingdom of heaven is not just another thing. It's not just something to add into our lives. It's not just another hobby. The people here this morning are not here because Quidditch practice was cancelled. This is the ultimate. This is the give everything up in your life kind of deal. This is the stop trading, sell everything you have and come and get hold of this. This is the treasure to give everything for. But you might think, well, what actually is this treasure? This great pearl, this treasure found in a field, what does that actually look like in terms of the kingdom of heaven? Well, the treasure really is the one who is speaking. I don't mean me, obviously. I mean Jesus, the one who is telling these parables. He is the one, the God-man, who came down from heaven, who came to be with the people, who have lived in rebellion against heaven, who have done everything possible to push God away. And he is the one who's come and walked with them, who's shown compassion to them, who's covered their shame, who's given them hope, who's given them healing, who's spoken into their despair and their mess and has given them a way into this kingdom of heaven. He's the one who perfectly innocent life, perfectly pure life, who has died, who has been stripped, died on a cross, innocent and undeserving, when all those of us who have rebelled against heaven were the ones who deserve that punishment. He is the treasure that this kingdom of heaven is talking about. He is the one. I don't know whether the story of the merchant resonates in any way with you. I don't know whether you feel that in your heart you're a bit of a searcher or a collector, maybe. You see, this merchant was looking for something. He knew what he was after. And some of us can find that we are searching, we're looking. Maybe there's a need, maybe there's a longing, maybe there's a pain, maybe there's a fear that means that you just are looking for that one thing that is going to give you a lifeline. That one thing is going to cover that pain, that shame, that is going to meet that desperate need that you're looking for. And there's so many things in our world that promise to be that thing. You just have to look on Instagram or TikTok or whatever to have a million videos that promise to be that thing, but they're just another thing. Whereas this is the thing. This is the ultimate. This is the only true answer. Jesus is the only one who can cover our shame, the only one who can offer true forgiveness, the only one who's paid for our way into a relationship with God, not a distant, or I'm okay, I'm a judge, let me go kind of relationship, but a fatherly welcome to the ones who should have been pushed by rights away because of our rebellion, but they're welcomed in. And that is the treasure. That's why this is the pearl worth selling everything for, the treasure worth giving up everything for. That is the treasure. Maybe that resonates with you this morning, but maybe actually you kind of think, well, do you know what? I'm more like Mr. Field. I'm more like the guy who wanted the field. I wasn't really looking for anything. I was just having a content time in my life. And maybe this morning you've been kind of dragged along thinking, do you know what? I'm fine, actually. I'm not really feeling any burning needs in my heart right now. I don't need whatever it is that you guys do here this morning. But maybe you find yourself a little bit more like this guy. See, as far as we can work out from the passage, this guy wasn't looking for anything. He could have just been kicking back, enjoying the sunshine, running his hand through the field of corn, having a little snack, just life easy as far as we know. And yet then he gets a little glimmer of something. Obviously something catches his eye to go and investigate in this field and have a little dig and suddenly discover the hoard of a lifetime. He wasn't looking for anything. He didn't need anything. He wasn't like in the market for treasure. He wasn't like he didn't have one of those metal detectors on, looking for treasure. But suddenly, bam, his life has changed. Suddenly, he can't just cover that treasure up and be like, oh no, I'm all right, actually. Suddenly, he's found something so valuable and so worthwhile that he has to go and sell everything for. I would have loved to be in the estate agent fields in that century, just to sort of see how he carries this off. Because it says in his joy, he goes out and sells everything he has. So I wonder what kind of poker face did he have to kind of pull off to kind of go down and say, I really want to get that field. The one in the corner. It's like, are you sure? Because we've got a portfolio of other fields here. This one's particularly fertile soil, and this, no rocks in this one. And he's like, no, trust me. No, it's fine. This is the field I want. And kind of trying to keep that straight face. Don't let on to them that I found something really quite awesome in that field. Because it comes with such joy to know that actually, not only have I got openness to this treasure, not only can I get in on this treasure, but it hasn't cost me a thing. I mean, sure, he bought the field. It cost him everything in terms of giving up his worldly wealth and his lifestyle to get this field. But he couldn't pay for the treasure. He's bought a field, sure, but he couldn't pay a single fraction of what that treasure was worth. He didn't have the resources for that. And neither do we. We don't have the resources to pay for forgiveness from all of our sins, the ones we know about and feel bad about, and the ones that we completely forget about in the minute. We don't have the resources to kind of buy our way into some kind of relationship with God, the awesome Holy One. We don't have the resources for that. We can't buy into that. And yet, this is the great joy that we get because it has already been paid for. We don't pay a jot of it, but Jesus paid every last penny of it in his blood so that we can come out and we can get in on the riches of heaven, kingdom of heaven, be welcomed in, find our forgiveness, find that actually our all right, content lives, Mr. Field, are actually so missing out on what we were made for and what we were designed for and the meaning that God has placed in our hearts. So with great joy, he goes and he buys this field. And I don't know whether that perhaps resonates a bit more with you this morning. Perhaps you feel like you stumbled across this meeting, or you've been dragged along, or maybe that's a little bit of your story if you follow Jesus. That at one minute you're walking along, having a perfectly content life, and the next minute, bam, life is upside down and nothing else will do. Well, if you would say that you haven't met Jesus this morning, if you would say, actually, I don't know whether I've got in on that treasure. I don't really know whether I'm in the kingdom of heaven, whether all those things you described are really true for me. Well, please come and chat to us. Come and speak to us at the end. Come and find out. If you feel like you've seen even a glimmer, like in that field, come and find out, who is this Jesus? And who is this one who talks about my welcome into the kingdom of heaven? So, great joy. Great joy as we get in on the kingdom of heaven. Great joy as we discover something that's worth leaving everything for. But I want to finish by speaking to those of us who've perhaps known that great joy and had that moment of great joy in the past. And life had been turned around. Certainly my story is that it was like a ton of bricks. Suddenly life had been turned around. Suddenly there was joy that I didn't know before. Suddenly there was freedom and forgiveness and such a wealth of goodness that I didn't know before. And if I'm honest, I've always known the truth of that since then. I've never kind of questioned in my journey so far the truth of that. And yet there have been lots of times when I've not tangibly felt the joy of that. And I don't know whether sometimes we can fail to see some of the truth of the treasure that's in front of us. My phone is a little bit passive aggressive in its messaging to me. Every now and then when I'm at a nice social event or want to take a photograph of something that's just in that moment, I'll be ready to snap, and suddenly it comes up with a little message on the screen saying, a clean lens makes for a better picture. Like, oh, thanks very much. So you're telling me that I'm mucky. I mean, they might as well. It's underneath that very polite message. I'm hearing, by the way, get yourself a wipe because you use their phone filthy, but your face needs a wipe as well because I am disgusted in you. Lens waiting for a clean all day. That's what I hear anyway. But I feel like spiritually, sometimes we can end up in a similar situation. Paul talks in Ephesians about opening the eyes of our heart, enlightening the eyes of our heart so that we can see the treasure, we can see the hope that we've been called to. And I think in the same way, there's that real danger that sometimes our lens, as it were, or the lens of our hearts gets a little bit clouded. The treasure of the kingdom of heaven is undiminished. In fact, that first flush of joy when you became a Christian is only actually the tiniest glimmer, the tiniest coin of it. There is a whole wealth of it more to discover. And yet, we don't always maintain that sense of joy when our hearts or our eyes become clouded, maybe by the hard stuff of life, the difficult things, or maybe about the successful things of life, the distractions and the joys of life. And I think sometimes it's good for us to take time to clean that lens. And there's many ways that could happen, but one way that I find so helpful is to worship. To worship. We're looking forward to cheering on the Lionesses this afternoon. And yes, You'll hear teams of different sports people, including footballers, say the difference between playing to a stadium full of supporters and an empty stadium is colossal. Sports people and runners running marathons just talk about being buoyed up by the cheers of the fans that just help them to go that extra mile. They need, as it were, the worship and the adulation of their fans. But that's not the case in Christian worship. That is not the case with our God. You see, God doesn't need our worship. He didn't give us worship because he needed to be buoyed up or to be more because of our praise. Not at all. He is glorious and unchanging. He gave us worship for us. He gave us worship because he knows our eyes become dull and our hearts become weary and the lens of our hearts gets clouded by the stuff of life. He gave us worship so we can look again at him and have our vision just cleaned so we can see how glorious that treasure is, that we can remember why we give up everything to follow him, so that we can see the reality that it's not just another hobby added into our life, but it is the ultimate and it is everything. So I would just encourage us, and certainly encourage myself, that to make worship a part of our day-to-day life. It doesn't have to just be when we gather together. It doesn't have to just be in a set amount of time, even as we're driving places, to fix our eyes again on him, as we're doing the washing up, to fix our eyes again on him. And I'd love to invite us now to fix our eyes again on him, to look up and see that one who is worth leaving everything for, to see the one who is the great and awesome treasure, and to enjoy him.